Hello, my name's Gillian, and I happen to be married to James Shaw, who's not here. He's gone back to America and he's busy teaching. I live in the UK, so it's down to me to introduce this video for you, which we shot recently to launch our brand new website. Yes, Right From Within has a brand new website. You can go check that out at www.ridefromwithin.com. And on the homepage of our new website, we make a rather bold statement, and that is that Ride From Within brings forth a brand new paradigm in riding. Now, I looked up the definition of new paradigm, and the top answer on Google is new findings that completely change the way people think about or interact with something. And that is absolutely true of Ride From Within. And there are three main areas that we have defined as where we can talk about a new paradigm. And those three different areas combine together to form a unified way of being, if you like, with your horse, predominantly in the saddle, but also on the ground. And this interview is the first of those three, where we introduce the idea of the new paradigm of receive and redirect. This is absolutely unique to Ride From Within. If you think you understand this or you've heard this somewhere else, I guarantee that you have not. So give this a listen. James goes into a little bit of depth. I had to kind of grab him while I could, so it's a little kind of cozy fireside chat that we had to get him to get really clear about what receiving the horse's force and redirecting it and the force of gravity, what that really means, and how it's a new paradigm. And also I get him to explain the old paradigm, the model that we have all learned to ride with, and that is strength and leverage. So sit back and enjoy.
So you talk a lot about strength and leverage versus receive and redirect in Ride From Within.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, strength and leverage is how we all learn by default to deal with gravity and forces greater than ourselves. We push back against them. We fight gravity in the way we stand and we walk, and we use force against force. It's what we do as humans until we learn differently. And in a sense, we use strength and leverage anytime a force is bigger than us or heavier than us, so
Right.
how we walk, we lean forward. We use, because gravity is not moving through our skeleton, we can't move our center the way it was designed to move.
Right.
So we kind of keep our balance front to back, side to side, and that's how we move on the ground. A great example is how we walk. Almost everyone shifts their weight by leaning side and back, and then we lean forward to take a step. That moves our mass in front of our base of support, so it moves the mass, our torso, if you will, out in front of our feet, and then we step forward to catch our falling mass. Receive and redirect means that we stand differently, so gravity doesn't get stuck at our lower back and in our pelvis, which limits its use. We shift our weight by using the pelvis in 3 dimensions, and therefore we can take a step forward without leaning, and then we move our mass over the base of our foot.
Okay.
So everybody does this.
Everybody does it. So you're saying strength and leverage is, in the context of Ride From Within, we're calling that the old paradigm, and you're saying
Yes.
that applies to the world, basically.
Pretty much.
Being a human being in a body,
Yeah.
you're going to use strength and leverage in your daily life. If
Yes.
you don't know any better, that's basically it.
Yes, until you learn different techniques,
So
meaning
yeah.
how to move your skeleton differently, you have to use strength and leverage. There's no alternative.
Okay, and we take that to riding.
Yes, it's then how aids have developed, it's how tack has developed, it's how techniques and training have developed through strength and leverage. And there is another way.
So how did you find out that there was another way?
Well, I had, outside of my interest in riding, which came very late. I had studied a Chinese martial art, a Kung Fu system, for 15 years. Before that, I did about 5 years of another system. Before that, 9 years of wrestling, collegiate style wrestling. And in all of those, we use strength and leverage. Bigger, faster, stronger wins in strength and leverage.
Right. So when it comes to fighting, the stronger
Fighting
you
or
are, the
just-
stronger you
yeah.
are, the fitter you are.
Yeah, fighting, or not just fighting, doing construction, building a
Right.
wall.
But I'm-
But-
in
but
your
in life, yeah.
experience, you-
So in this system, if now this is a theory, if there are two people of equal skill, absolutely equal in their skill and knowledge, the one who is bigger, faster, stronger
Right.
wins.
Sure.
This is
That's kind
This
of
is-
common knowledge.
absolutely, yes. So I would look at riders. Well, first, I did this Kung Fu system for all those years, 15 years, 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I say that because I have to remind myself how dedicated I was to it. How seriously dedicated 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, every week for 15 years is. It's massive.
Yeah.
So I had done that. I had ended up wanting to leave the temple, as we called it. I had met a Chinese woman who was a Tai Chi master. And I thought, I can't just quit martial arts. So I'm going to go see if I can learn from her. And she introduced me to the internal side of what I thought I was already doing, Kung Fu, Tai Chi, Bagua. I thought I was doing it internally because I knew so much. She introduced me to what it really meant. And she was,
How did she do that?
well, she did it through first observing me and saying, your forms are pretty on the outside, but dead, empty on the inside. Your weapons are moving correctly, but they're dead. There's no life in the weapon. So,
I'm smiling because that is such I never thought of that before, but it was such a direct parallel to where I ended up, where I looked amazing on the outside as a rider, correct position, dressage,
Yeah,
long
yes.
leg and all that, but it was empty on the inside also, meaning ineffective, hollow.
yes.
Sorry, I just made that connection. So,
That's a beautiful connection. So, I met her, and she proved to me, basically by throwing me on the ground, beating me in push hands every time, almost every Sunday for about 5 years, she would prove to me, not in theory, but in application, that bigger, stronger, faster
Wow.
had no advantage here.
that must have been
because-
a shock.
Yeah, it was. It was a ego-deflating, eye-opening,
This tiny little Chinese lady.
depressing.
Oh,
I was depressed because I thought I wasted 15
oh,
years
yeah.
of my life.
Serious stuff.
But she was tiny. She was tiny. She had no bulging body. She had no biceps. Yeah, she wasn't big and strong, and she looked like a, God bless her, Chinese grandmother, and she was.
That's how.
She kicked my, yeah.
But it
But I
woke
kept
you up.
coming back.
Yeah.
It woke me up.
Yeah.
It
So
woke me up.
you to the
And my
fact-
body started to heal. My back started to heal. My knees no longer gave me
Oh, so
the
you
trouble.
were broken physically also.
Yeah, that's why one of the reasons I started it started to hurt more to do Kung Fu the way I thought I was trained to do it.
And that's also recognised across the board in any sport
Yeah.
that your body will break down
Yeah.
eventually.
How many riders don't ride because their knees, backs, or hips are in such bad shape?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my journey. And just about that time, I started working with riders more on a healing side, not that I wanted to change the riding world or discover a new paradigm. But I knew I could help them with their pain, I could help them with their health. And so I got introduced to riders and horses, and I quickly observed in them what Wen Mei Yu observed in me. Maybe not at such a deep level then, but while they're using force against force, and it's going into the horse, although back then I didn't recognize how the horse was suffering or compensating for the rider's strength and leverage.
Right.
But now I know that they all do. So I could see riders using strength and leverage successfully. You know, they were good riders. They're, you know, some of them world-class riders. But their bodies were starting to suffer. Their backs, their hips, their knees, depending on their discipline. Mm-hmm. And I could see clearly it was the same as it was for me in Kung Fu, transferring over to Tai Chi. And the real, remember, because I did Tai Chi for 15 years at this temple.
Right.
But it didn't have the internal as far as moving the force. We talked about Chi, vital energy, all, you know, that kind of force. But it didn't, we never talked about gravity and the force of the opponent and the interaction of those two forces on my skeleton.
So when you knew something that you didn't, and you made that very obvious by putting you on the floor at the peak of your physical fitness, despite injury, you were very fit.
Oh yeah. She
could just put you on the floor.
Yeah.
Using receive and redirect, which is the new paradigm that you have introduced and put into riding. As opposed to the old way of using strength and leverage. So
exactly.
Go into a wee bit more detail about what that really means, strength and leverage as applied to riding. How do riders use strength and leverage?
In strength and leverage, you have to hold your spine still.
Right.
Right, and that usually means the muscles contract and you sit up straight. Mm-hmm. Now, in English riding, you sit up straight. In Western, you roll back. But it still holds the spine still. Okay. Right? There's a stillness. Mm-hmm. And that's because you have to have a stiff lever. Your spine becomes the lever, because in the strength and leverage model, you're using leverage to move something, the horse.
Right.
Now, to get it to move the way you want it to move, and we use strength and leverage. And that leverage comes in the form of using the spine. Mm-hmm. It comes in the form of using the rein to move the head. It comes in the form of using the leg as a lever against the rib cage to move the spine by twisting the rib. It all goes back to the spine, right? But that's what we do in riding, and it's in each discipline, the technique is different, but the principle is the same. It's strength and leverage against the horse's spine, whether it comes through the head to get to the neck, or the seat to get to the spine, or the rib cage to get through the ribs to the spine.
So if you don't receive the force of the horse and force of gravity
into your skeleton,
your only option
is strength and leverage.
Sit on top of the horse,
on top of the energy.
Manage those forces externally.
Yes, from above.
Leg, hand, and lever of the spine.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so what's the alternative?
Well, the alternative is receive and redirect.
The new paradigm.
The new paradigm. What Wen Mei Yu taught me, and that flowed back into everything I knew previously, but it took a while. That's the new paradigm, is to receive the power of the horse. And the power of the horse is created when the horse pushes into the earth. The earth pushes back, that force travels through its skeleton, and we receive it primarily through our sit bones and let it come all the way up the spine, where we can then through our arms and give it back to the horse, completing a cycle. So we receive the energy of the horse as opposed to sitting on top of it.
So that means you can then influence the bigger...
This is a fantastic part. Once you receive the energy, if I've received the energy of the horse into my, let's say, my thoracic spine, right? My ribs, up to that part of my spine. If I move that part of my spine, the horse mirrors that movement perfectly.
Right.
The horses can feel their force inside my skeleton.
Right.
And I use that's the redirection, as opposed to leverage using force to get them to move.
Okay.
When I receive it, I can move my spine the way I want their spine to move, and they move. The other way, I have to hold my spine still and leverage, using strength to apply force through the seat into the horse's back to make them do something.
So that's the difference between you in the old style of Kung Fu. You're using strength.
Yeah.
You can relate that to riders on horses.
Yes.
So the new paradigm, when you could put you on the floor, that relates to riding, so that you receive the power of the horse and then you can redirect and influence it rather than manage it from the outside. You're
Yes.
internally receiving the
Yes.
energy, and then you can,
Yes.
you're joined basically with the horse
Absolutely.
in a different way from what the strength and leverage model offers.
Yes.
And then you can influence the bigger force without wearing out your own body.
Yes, I'm not pitting my force against the horse's force.
You're joining with it.
I've joined with it. We become one. I move my body, it moves its body, because it feels me as one, instead of something over the top of it, steering it from the outside.
Sure. So what would you say to riders who would be listening to this and say, well, that's not me. I go with my horse.
Well, and you know, to be fair, maybe they do. But when I met Wenmei Yu, one of the things she told me a lot in the beginning, the first 9 months, was, if you think you know, you're unteachable. And I agreed with her. And I thought it was a fantastic saying. That makes a lot of sense. Not ever realizing that because of her knowledge and her experience on both sides of the scale, strength and leverage and receive and redirect, that she could see I knew the words, receive and redirect, grounded, rooted, all of that, go with, join with, become one with. I knew all of that. Intellectually, I knew the words. And I would agree with her when she was saying, you need to root. And I go, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I feel that. But what she could see, that I absolutely wasn't doing it. I knew it intellectually, but I didn't know it in my body. Mm-hmm. I knew what I knew, and therefore what I was feeling, I believed was what she was saying, but she knew that it wasn't.
And she could prove it.
And she did regularly. So she would say, if you think you know, you're unteachable. And one day, I don't know, 3 to 5 months in of, seriously wanting to learn, to save my life, learn it, I was walking out of the school, and for some reason, moment of enlightenment, that I realized every time she had used the phrase, if you think you know, you're unteachable, she was telling me, you think you know, you don't know, so you can't learn.
Your mind is closed.
My mind's closed. Mm-hmm. My ego jumps in, however you want to think about it, and says, I know. Mm-hmm. And you become unteachable. So I would relay that story to riders who believe that are doing this already. And the beauty about that is, if you check it out, check it out with me, you may discover that you are.
You're saying though, unless you've learned a different way, you can't know it.
Unless you've been taught on the ground a different way to receive and redirect force.
So no matter how you dress it up,
yes,
if you don't know a different way,
yes,
the horse's force comes into your body, and you have to deal with it somehow, or you're going to fall off.
Yes.
So what you're saying in the old paradigm, the old model, is that we learn to manage those forces by tightening, contracting, holding, so that we don't fall off. Basically, the horse moves forward, we're going to fall back if we don't do something about it. So as the horse moves forward, and we go, oh, as a child say, what do? We tighten.
Right, we hold still.
And usually balance on the reins.
Yes.
So really what you're saying is, if we don't learn a different way, we only refine that to a degree that perhaps you can't see it, or you can fool yourself into thinking, I don't balance on the reins, I have no weight in my hand.
Yes.
You're still...
all your weight is in the rest of your body, holding it rigid.
And you can see that, and you know the difference.
Yes. So one of the models is, in strength and leverage, as it applies to riding, you move less. You contract inward towards the center.
Yes.
Whatever your center is,
To keep
you
that still.
contract inward to hold it still. In the new
Because
paradigm,
the force of the horse is going to move.
yes, yeah, it shakes you all around. So you hold tight, you hold
Right.
still, heels down, chest up, whatever it is, right? Shoulder blades down, back, however that is. In the new model, we move more from the center, the femur bones, the pelvis, the lumbar spine, right? We move more from the center so the extremities can be still. The old model, we always hear, keep your hands still, keep your legs still. For God's sake, keep your head still. And the only way we know to do that is to contract.
Still, and it doesn't
Contract.
work.
No, because
doesn't
you're
work.
against a force greater than yourself.
I know.
This power of the horse. In this model, we move the center more so the extremities can be still.
So is that not a case of where the words are not matching reality? Like people say
Exactly.
they know that, but if you actually watch most people, something's
Right.
moving. It'll be the legs
Yes.
or the hands.
Yes,
And I
yes.
used to spend
Yes.
hours and hours trying to keep my hands still.
Yes.
And my legs still.
Yes.
My head still.
And just like right now, you can only do it by contracting.
Contracting, yeah.
Tension. So the old model, strength and leverage, we need bigger muscles that contract more to hold us still. The new model is we need relaxation, which we can have because instead of using simple leverage, we're using rotation, right? Spirals. That's what this third movement of the pelvis does. It gives us spirals. So we use rotation, then we can relax, then gravity makes us heavier in the seat, and then we move rotation to keep the extremities still, as opposed to holding the center still, and the extremities always move because they're attached to a force greater than ourselves. And then that's where we do the best we can with it, and we do really well.
Yeah.
But it's still strength and leverage, and it's short-lived in the lifetime of a human being.
And of a horse.
And definitely of the horse. Multiplied in the horse because they have shorter lifespan.
So if we
Magnified in the horse.
ride with strength and leverage, we break down, and the horse also
Yeah.
suffers detrimental.
And the horse, let's say the lumbar sacrum area holds tight. Now some of them can hold really tight and not have a lot of injuries, but most of them can't. So those injuries don't really show up in the sacrum lumbar because it's such a massive bone structure and protected, it shows up in the hocks and the stifles.
Sure does.
Or it shows up in the fore and the pull, right? It moves forward and back. So yeah, the other model is freer movement so that you move better.
And the horse.
Wen Mei Yu's probably 85, pushing 90 right now. And she still moves spry. I saw a video of her walking. She still moves great. But she's practiced this model her lifetime. And, my biggest hope is that we can, the rider and the horse will suffer longevity, We'll move better, longer, and so we get to enjoy life a little. It doesn't become such a struggle, because art takes a long time to get. It takes a while to get it. You don't want to be worn out by the time you get it.
No, it gives us all hope.
Yes, hope is what we're looking for.
Well, thank you very
Definitely.
much. That's fascinating and just
That's
brilliant.
my greatest pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed that interview and then it shed some light on things for you, or you probably have more questions now than answers. But that's okay, because you can get in touch with us. Go check out the website, www.rightfromwithin.com. You'll find all sorts of tools to help your learning there. If you go to the shop, there's a book, there's DVDs, there's lectures for sale, all sorts of teaching aids that you can buy there. You can also email James directly at james@rightfromwithin.com to ask any questions. Also, if you enjoyed this video, would you please like, comment and subscribe below, and share it with anyone who you think would benefit from it. If you found your way here, you are looking for a new way to ride, and we have everything you need to do that. Thank you for watching.